Well, good day, everybody. We are back. This is RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live podcast. And do we have a great topic to you? We are talking the best Business Enterprise Succession Taskforce. And I am honored that I am chosen to be one of the amazing people who get to be on this task force. But I have some great guests that are going to explain it far better than I ever could. So let me bring my guests on live and let's get this party started. Hello, everybody. How are you today?
Good. How
Doing
are
good.
you?
How are you?
Oh, we are excellent. I would like you to introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do. Jacob, let's start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tina, so much for having me on. My name is Jacob de Blakecourt, and I am the Deputy Director of Policy and Communications for Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos.
And
And Al, tell everybody who you are.
I'm El Villegas, and I am one of the co-owners of Four Buds Floral Studio, which is Rhode Island's first and only worker-owned flower shop.
Wow, I got to learn more about that. But Jacob, tell everybody a little bit about why we're here and what BEST is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the state of Rhode Island, we are facing a pretty severe succession crisis with our state's small businesses. Over half of the small businesses in the state of Rhode Island have business owners that are over the age of 55. And retirement is the fastest growing reason in the United States why businesses close. So that means the kids don't want to take it over. They're not getting bought out by a third party or a private equity firm. The business just closes. And that's really bad for the state. It's really bad for consumers, and it's really bad for the employees as well, who have the rug pulled out from under them at kind of a surprising time. And so, to address this, we want to find new and creative ways to ensure that we are future-proofing the legacy of Rhode Island small businesses. And one of the best ways to do that is through employee ownership. Harvard Business Review found that employee-owned businesses last longer, have longer tenured employees who have higher wages and better benefits. So if the answer to our succession crisis is so reasonable and so popular, why don't we see more employee-owned businesses in the state of Rhode Island? Well, the reality is that there are a lot of barriers that we face both on the state level, but also on a business by business level that make it really difficult to transition over to employee ownership. You may make a great cup of coffee, but that doesn't necessarily mean you know how to balance the books. And likewise, as an employer, you may have spent 30 years building up your business, but if you've never written down your bylaws or have any of those documents available, it makes it really difficult to sell a business in the amount of time. And if you're a business owner who wants to retire, but you haven't put those plans in place, it makes it very difficult for you to achieve your goal of both retiring and making sure that your business stays open. So we need a lot of resources and support, both on the state level, but also from private firms throughout the state. And that's exactly what we're doing with the Business Enterprise Succession Taskforce. We put together an amazing coalition of people, including Chambers of Commerce, the Small Business Administration, Small Business Development Coalition, Corporation, and a bunch of other really, really great people throughout the state to champion the cause of increasing the number of employee-owned businesses through technical support, through state-level funding, and through policies as well.
Oh, I think that's absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful that you made accessibility a priority to all of this because when they're learning about a succession plan and what's next, they also now get to learn about accessibility. And that just raises your bottom line by letting more people into your business and being more inclusive. It just raises your bottom line. So I thank you for that. Now, Elle, tell me a little bit about this flower shop and how this, number one, tell me where it is and tell me how this correlates to what we're talking about.
Yeah. So we're on Wickenden Street, right in the heart of Fox Point. We're at 284 Wickenden Street. And yeah, so there's four of us who all own 25% of our flower shop, where we are all employees and all owners. And all four of us never would have been able to own a flower shop by ourselves. None of us come from generational wealth where we could have just, bought a business from our previous employers. And so that's also a form of accessibility, is making business ownership accessible to people who it never would have been a possibility for before in traditional, single owner business structure. So the four of us met working at a different flower shop across town. And I had worked there for many years and gotten to know the owner very well. And he had sort of jokingly told me, like, when I get ready to retire, I want to sell the business to you. And I was like, I can't do that by myself. Like, that's not a realistic option for me. And then, got to know one of my other coworkers, Nikki, who'd been there for a similar number of years to me. The two of us got hired, around the same time, and we got to really know how to run the business. And even though the two of us, again, just the two of us, I don't think could have done it by ourselves. And then we met Rachel and Elissa, who got brought on a couple years later. And the four of us together, I was like, oh, now I see, like, this is a team that really makes sense. Like, each of us really brings something to the table that is, a really well-rounded team. And so when our boss then was like, oh, by the way, I'm selling the business. And we were like, wait, what? Like, since when? And he's like, well, I asked you if you wanted to buy it. And I was like, yeah, years ago, before I knew Rachel or Elissa, or, like, it's a very different situation now. And he's like, oh, well, I'm listing it with a broker. And we were like, oh no, like, this is terrible. And so I was like, well, give us a minute, give us some time to see if we can turn it into a co-op instead. And he actually really loved the idea. He said, that sounds really great. Like, what a fun legacy that my business will have. Like, and he was really interested in the idea. So I spent a bunch of time and a little bit of money doing hiring, a business analyst, and did all of our due diligence and researched, like, okay, how much is this business really worth? Like, how much can we afford to take out a loan for and still have solvency, still be able to repay this loan and keep the business open? And when we were finished with that work and figured out, okay, here's what a fair price looks like based on our previous years of revenue, it came out to a little more than half of what the broker said, oh, I can get you way more than that. And so our boss was put in this interesting position where he could either take, almost twice the amount of money for someone he'd never met and someone who didn't have any experience in the industry, or, a significantly less amount of money for, turning it into a co-op from, a legacy that people who he knew could continue to run the business in a way that he knew the business would be run his, and he'd get to retire and walk away. And he decided to sell through the broker, which is his prerogative. But it does mean that he still works there. He is not retired. So, who knows if his mind was changed in that regard as well. But ultimately, his original plan had been to be able to walk away and know that his business would continue and to be able to go his merry way. And that is not what ended up happening for him, which is a bummer. Because, I mean, I'm very glad they're still in business, which is great because it's a wonderful flower shop. But I'm sad for him and his husband that he doesn't get to take his early retirement. And it's not a sad ending for us either. The four of us actually crossed town and approached another flower shop owner that we knew who was near retirement, and we said, "Hey, can we make you an offer to buy you out and turn your flower shop into a co-op?" And he said, "Absolutely, let's talk." And so we also have a happy ending for us, where we now own the state's first and only worker-owned flower shop. So we did ultimately make it happen.
I absolutely love that. And, it's true. It's sad, whether you're a
Yeah.
business or a nonprofit like me, like one of my things owning Ramp, is what happens. I mean, I'm a person with disability. What happens if I got sick, if I got COVID, if I didn't make it through, if I couldn't work the way that I worked? I don't want Ramp to go away. I want it to be my legacy. I want it to be there. So, we're thinking about taking those steps too to make sure that we're secure. So nonprofits, business, or whatever, I think it's a good mindset, and I feel bad for him that he wasn't being able to complete what he wanted to do. But maybe it will open his eyes and say, hey, it worked for them, because he also lost 4 great employees at the same time. So, we don't want to go through that. Everybody doesn't want to go through that. They want to keep what they built and they wanted to keep their legacy. But I mean, look at some of the restaurants down in Providence that, just had to do the same thing. That this is such a great option. So Jacob, tell everybody what the call to action is and what their first steps are to learn more and what they have to do about this.
Absolutely. when we put together the best team, we were keeping in mind some of the needs that we know businesses have, both the employees and the employers, when it comes to making sure that the business is in good shape to be sold and that the employees are in the best possible position to purchase the business and ensure that it can continue running. So the first thing that we need to know is to better understand the business landscape. Who's out there? Who's thinking of retiring? And what have they done so far to think about the succession plan? So we put together a survey. It's the Small Business Succession Survey. And folks, we encourage people from throughout the state to fill out this survey if you own a small business. Even if you're not ready to retire, not for another 20 years, we still want you to fill out this survey so you can start thinking about it and being proactive. To access the survey, you can go to bit.ly/RI business. And it's a quick survey. It's available in both English and in Spanish. And it's just going to ask you some very basic questions about you, about your business, and around what you've done or not done so far to think about your succession plan. And ideally, what will happen is we'll find some business owners in the state who are looking to retire maybe in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And they're curious about learning more about employee ownership so that we can start connecting them with some of the service providers, both in the state and from, throughout the country that we've been working with to make sure that they're in a good position, while at the same time trying to build out some support systems on a state level to ensure that this is something that we can continue to do in-house.
And you can definitely get to the survey. We put it in the up top of this video. We'll also put it in the comments when the video, when the live podcast is over. We'll put it in the comments as well. But, thinking about a succession plan, thinking about what's next, you don't want to wait until that last minute, or being completely real and honest, because that's what we do here at RAMP. Who's to say you're not going to have a heart attack tomorrow? What's going to happen to all of your employees in your business if there was no plan in place, if there was no idea of what to do next? So, keeping it real, like having information to me is true power. Just having that information and knowing what your options are and what is available out there to protect not only you, but the rest of your family and your employees. The worst thing we want to do right now is have anybody out of work, especially when they're doing such a great job. This is the place to go. Al, tell everybody what it has meant to you to now own 25% of a flower shop, to know that you're living your passion, you're living what you want to do, you're not working, because if you have a passion, especially when you're working with flowers all day, you're not working anymore because you're working for yourself. You're your own boss. You make the decisions and everything. Tell everybody what that feels like.
It's really incredible, especially knowing that, like you were saying, like one of the beautiful things about a co-op too is that, like, if something were to happen to any one of the four of us tomorrow, we know that the business is in good hands because we are already such a great team. And no one of us is the only one making every decision. We make all of our decisions democratically, so we know that everything would be able to continue seamlessly, and it's really reassuring. And to know that we're building this, new long-term generational wealth in families that didn't have access to that before is, honestly, just a really beautiful thing to be a part of. Yeah, and it's funny, one of the things that we laughed about so hard, our first Valentine's Day, anyone who's ever worked in a flower shop on Valentine's Day knows that it's like a really hectic situation.
It's like working in a toy store at Christmas.
Yeah, it's
I get
it. What if Super Bowl Sunday and Black Friday were the same day? Like, yes, it's nuts. But also you're a pizza delivery service. Like, I mean, it's just everything.
Yeah.
And so, the sort of joke in the flower industry is like, all right, like how many things are going to go wrong today on Valentine's Day? Like, inevitably someone comes to pick up an order and like you missed it and it's not ready, or you go to deliver something and you have taken it to the wrong address, or you switched two of the cards, or like, something. There's always
that's bad.
It is bad. It is bad. There's always something. There's always some kind of drama. It's a high drama kind of day. And our first Valentine's Day, we were like, oh my God, like, here we go. This is it. Like, we're about to see what happens now that we're the ones who are responsible for everything that's happening today. Like, we can't blame anybody else. And at the end of the day, we finally locked the door and we were exhausted and we're all, hungry and tired. And we all kind of looked at each other and we were like, wait, did anything go wrong? And we had to think about it, and we're like, oh my God, I don't think anything went wrong. And for all of us, that was a first. I'd never had a Valentine's Day where that had been the case. And it really got us thinking. We're like, it's funny, but when the people doing the work are the ones making all the decisions about how the work gets done, and when it's not just one person and no one feels like they can chime in and say, hey, what if we adjust that a little bit, because there's only one person who's in charge. But when there's four of us who are all sort of fully collaborating and making all the decisions, and who bring so much more experience than any one person could ever have, it means that things get done right. And it's really a beautiful thing to know that, like, I'm not making all the decisions by myself, because four heads are better than one.
I absolutely love that. And, I could so feel that. I used to be a manager at a toy store a while back, so I know what you're talking about Valentine's Day and flowers. But, one of the things that when you have ownership in something, when your name is attached to something, you work harder, you work smarter,
Absolutely.
you want to make sure that, like, I know my name is golden to me. Like, I'm still in the old age because I'm old. That, a handshake is my word. And if I give my word for anything, like, I complete it 100%,
Yep.
one way or another. That's the same thing with business and employee ownership, that you now have all of these people who care more because their name is now attached to it. They're making a profit from it. It's so important. You hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
So, Jacob, to wrap us up, what is the one thing that everybody needs to do today to start this process?
The first thing you need to do is head to bit.ly/RI business to complete our survey. I also encourage everyone to reach out to our office, send me an email, give me a call, let us know what you're interested in. If you have a small business event that you want us to come to, we will go to any part of the state, happy to travel around. We want to support your business. We want to see your businesses thrive. And most importantly, we want to make sure that your business carries on into the next generation. That's a fundamental priority for us. So any way that we can be supportive in that effort, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
I absolutely love that. Elle, is there anything that you would like to leave everybody with of why they need to do this today?
Because employee ownership is the future, and it is one of the best ways to ensure long-term job stability and the growth of new generational wealth and accessibility to business ownership.
I can't thank you both enough for being here today and sending this message out to everybody. So if you don't own a business or you're not part of a nonprofit, share it with somebody, because everybody knows. We're the state of Rhode Island. What's our unofficial slogan? Everybody knows someone.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that we're sharing this out and we're getting this message out there. Again, we will put the link in the comments, but it is above in the description of this podcast. And we look forward to hitting. Nope. I'm glad it's yours and not mine for a change. So, usually it's mine. But everybody, make sure you're either sharing this, you're taking this survey, you're learning more, because this is the future. This is what we need to do. And we cannot do anything unless we're doing it together. The only way all of us are going to succeed and there's going to be succession is doing it together. So thank you both so much for being here today. We're going to share this out, and we'll be seeing you soon, because we know the Lieutenant Governor will be at our event in July. Yeah. Accessibility is beautiful, and we're going to invite Elle to be part of that as well. So now we're really excited. We've met new friends. So we will talk to you all soon. Take the survey. We have a goal on the survey. I'm not going to tell you the goal because I want to surpass that goal. So I'm not going to tell you the goal, but we have a goal. So let's surpass it. Take the survey either above or in the comments. Make sure you take that survey. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all soon.